Hey y'all, and welcome. We are back yet again for our monthly health lesson. I am excited that we are yet back again, that we are continuing forward with our partnership with the American Heart Association and Amgen Cardiology. So thank you for joining me again. All right, so this time we are not only setting up for this coming week, but we are setting up the theme for the month. So come on in, make sure that if you haven't already, that you have shared this particular health lesson. We are in this to get the information to the masses. So it's not a tabernacle thing. Are we hosting it? Yes, sure, of course. However, it is open to any and everybody. So I'm going to take a moment and allow you the opportunity to share this information. Well, I am here not only representing the TAB, but I stand as the representative for our health and wellness ministry. So, you are going to have the opportunity very shortly to get connected with us on one of our two platforms, the Facebook group or the Band app group. These monthly lessons are here to set our mindset and to set our intentions. But the accountability and the support and the challenges all happen in the group. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to join us there. Well, let's get started with our initial slides and give an overview of what you can expect in this particular lesson, and then we'll get a few housekeeping items out of the way. Fair enough? Okay, so let us go ahead. I will share my screen and I want to take maybe a step or two back. So, as always, welcome. This month's lesson, we are focusing on getting active. My own words are getting more active, because I don't know what stage of the game you're in. I don't know what part of the journey you're on. So if you're active this much, I want to challenge you to get more active. All right, that's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we are going to be discussing. Well, in case you happen to be new here in this space with us, I want to welcome you to our Empowered to Serve sessions. Well, what is Empowered to Serve? Uh, we are here. We are here in partnership with the American Heart Association to be a relentless force of change. So we want everyone to live longer, healthier lives. And we are doing our part by getting the information out there to our communities. What's our community? We are specifically targeting, number one, the communities of faith, and two, the communities of color. So share with anyone that might fall into these demographics. We want to get this health information out there, and we want to level the playing field. Amen. So as you can see on the screen, what can we expect for today? All right, so I've already welcomed you. On for the lesson, I just need to cover three particular areas with you, and then I'm gonna cut you loose. You'll have the rest of your time for yourself and to get prepped for what we have coming up in the week. All right, so 3 points that we're gonna discuss on tonight. All right, understanding physical activity guidelines. That's point one. So we'll spend some time there dissecting it and pulling it apart. The second area, we're going to talk about barriers, okay? How to identify them and how to remove them so that you can get moving, all right? And then lastly, as my bishop always says, He tells us you got to plan your work and work your plan. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to establish a physical activity plan. Once we cover those three areas, we are pretty much going to be it. And the rest of the work is going to be done in our groups. Well, speaking of the groups, I want us to, number one, get our pre-survey out of the way. If you have been with us in the previous health lessons, we take a pre-survey before the lesson materials have been discussed, and then we'll take a post-survey. All right, so what I need you to do right now is to take your phone. I need you to scan the QR code. It'll pop up that survey, or you can hit the link that we'll put up for you on your Facebook and the YouTube platforms that you can access. It'll also be in the description of the video if you are watching this as a replay. Just go into the description of the video, hit the link, and make sure you get that out of the way. It's a quick 1-minute survey, so I am going to pause and allow you to get that in. All right, so as you are working on getting that out of the way, we're going to also extend an invitation to you to join us on Facebook or on the Band app. Again, our groups are where the bulk and the majority of the work to undergird, to supplement the monthly health lesson takes place. So that's where your connections are. That's where your accountability is found. So please, ma'am, please, sir, take an opportunity to join us there. Well, how do you do that? I am so glad that you asked. All right, so you can scan the code that is above the Facebook emblem if you are interested in joining our Facebook group, or you can scan the emblem that is over top of the Band app logo. All right, so either platform, we would love to have you join us and get into the discussion. All right, well, listen, I believe that you have probably had enough time to get that 60-second survey out of the way. So let's get into the material. All right, so physical activity. Why does it matter? If you have been in any group of mine or any dialogue with me, I am always going to say that movement matters. Well, this slide is giving us the reason why movement matters. If you look, that first bolded area in red, what does it say? It reminds us that heart disease is the #1 killer worldwide. Period. Heart disease is #1, with stroke coming in at a close second. Even when these conditions don't result in death, they can cause a significant change to your quality of life. And we have talked about that in previous lessons. The Lord desires to see us prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospers. So why not do everything that is in our power to do so that we can live a long, happy, healthy, and productive life? Well, physical activity matters. Let's go back a slide because it advanced more. All right, so again, the American Heart Association and this whole Empowered to Serve movement is so that we can be a force, we can be a catalyst for change. So the goal is to see a change, a change that sweeps across worldwide, free of cardiovascular diseases. All right. There are so many things in life that we cannot control. So the things that we can, why don't we? As much that lies within us, why don't we? Well, what am I talking about? Well, if you continue to read the information that's on the slide, it says heart disease and stroke, the number one and the number two killer, those two things can be prevented 80% of the time by making healthy choices, such as, yes, doing what we're talking about on today, getting regular physical activity. 80%. 80% of the number one and the number two killer can be prevented 80% of the time. All we have to do is get moving. Well, let's take a look at what is the situation as we have it now. All right. It says that only about 20% of adults get the recommended amount of physical activity. Okay, so what that translates into is that 80% of adults are getting 0 to under the recommended amount of physical activity. Let me put the two slides together. All right, so we just heard previously that heart disease and stroke could be prevented 80% of the time if we would just move more. But when we look at the data, we understand that about 80% of us are not moving or not moving enough to prevent the preventable. It says inactivity increases the risk of death from heart attack, stroke, and type 2 diabetes, as well as colon, endometrial, and lung cancer. Inactivity increases the risk. Well, I would hope that we would recall our very, very, very first health lesson. We began to talk about, the communities of color. We began to look at our specific breakdowns and where our numbers lie. And, depending on which minority category you fell into, you already knew that our numbers are off the charts for certain things. Now we have to understand, because all of these lessons build on top of one another, that our inactivity is also a factor. It increases the risk of our poor health, which when we look at it, the condition of our health affects the quality of our lives, which affects the lives of our loved ones. All right, so that's the situation. Now, I'll put the next slide up momentarily, but I want to read this statistic. It says that 30 to 50% of U.S. adults who perform the little to no vigorous, well, let me back up, moderate to vigorous activity. And we'll define these words as we go further. Of those adults, if they would just begin to replace the time that they are sitting, the time that they are sedentary, if they would just replace it with light activity, not the moderate to vigorous, but with just light activity, 30 to 50% would be able to realize some value. They would be able to realize some sort of benefit. So why is that important? It's important because I am not trying to sell you on, all right, you need to buy you a gym membership and you need to hit that gym hard and heavy 5 days a week. You need to go and enroll in a boot camp. You need to go do CrossFit. You need to go and start training for a marathon. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that any of those things are bad. However, what I'm saying, if you would just begin to move a little bit more, you would be able to realize the value. You would be able to see the benefit in what turning your inactivity into activity brings to your life. All right? Let's begin to look at some of our points. Let's put some slides back up, all right? So we know that inactivity is going to increase our risk. This is the slide that I just talked about that, you know what? You would recognize benefit if you just replace your little to no activity to some light activity. Let's look at point number 1. And in this section, I just want us to begin to understanding physical activity. All right, so as we look at this infographic, adults should get at least 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity aerobic activity, or, listen to that word, or, all right, so either get your 150 a week or 75 minutes a week of vigorous activity, or a combination of the both, preferably spread out during the week. Well, I understand those numbers. When we start calling out numbers, it freaks some of us out because it's a large number. But let's break it down. And I'm going to take the largest one first. All right, it says 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity aerobic activity. That breaks down, the numbers break down to about 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. So that means you're keeping your weekends. You have your Saturday and your Sunday. Let's just talk a typical work week, a typical school week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you were to get 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity in, you would be hitting a recommended physical activity goal. So we have broken it down from 150 a week to 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. Well, that number can still be intimidating because you're like, oh my goodness, I can't get in a good 30 minutes straight. 30 minutes is 30 minutes, no matter what time of the day or whichever way you break it up. So even though we're on point number 1, I'm already in point number 2, which deals with barriers. So what can you do with that? 30 minutes a day. I'm not telling you to get in 30 minutes of an exercise routine if you're not ready for it. But you know what? 10 plus 10 plus another 10 equals 30. Break up the numbers. Make it manageable. Take it in bite-sized pieces and get it done. It's as simple as that if we change the lens through which we look at it. All right? So, physical activity recommendations. 150 minutes per week. Repeat after me. That's 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. If you add a Saturday in there, then you know what? You can shorten the amount of minutes that you're going because you've added another day. Well, I want to share some more information. All right, so if your family dynamic is that you have children in the household, because everything that we've spoken about so far deals with the adults. Well, children have physical activity recommendations as well. And you, mom, you, dad, you, grandmom, you, granddad, also need to make sure that the babes, that the children are getting it in as well. So for children that are 3 to 5 years old, they should be as much energy as they have. They should be physically active and have an opportunity to get as much activity in throughout the day. You should encourage that. It should be encouraged, okay? So kids that fall between that 6 years old to 17 years old, they all, and I know that's a large age range, but anyone falling into that category, they should be getting 60 minutes a day, 1 hour a day of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity. All right. So what does that say to the adult that needs to get more active, that might have children or grandchildren in the picture? Well, to me, it says that, this might be an opportunity for us to get active together. All right. So again, point number one, we are understanding physical activity. So the recommendations: move more, sit less. That's the recommendation. If you boil everything down to it, move more, sit less. All right. Adults, the grown folks, okay? It says that we should move more and sit less throughout the day. Any physical activity is better than none. Repeat that part after me. Any physical activity is better than none. We're not out here at this point in time trying to compete. Who you competing with? You're not trying to follow the latest fitness craze or the latest trend. If you have problems with your joints, if you have been injured, if you've recently had surgery, you're not trying to keep up with the next person. You just need to realize some activity, any activity, is better than none. Adults who sit less and do any amount of moderate to vigorous physical activity gain some health benefits. So there's going to be a benefit in your moving. I apologize, guys. My slides are advancing faster than I need them to. All right, so reducing that time that we're sitting, doing, I don't want to say doing nothing, forgive me. Reducing the amount of time that we're sitting, regardless of what we're doing. Allow me to present it that way. Because whether you're sitting and it's, you vegged out, you're watching the TV or whatever else, you're still sitting. Whether you are on the clock at your job or working from home, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing a good work, doing a great job. You're seated doing your schoolwork. The fact of the matter is you're still seated. So according to this infographic that we have up in front of us, if you're not getting any type of activity, start with something light. What's the lightest thing that we can start with that is good for all of us? Walking. Okay. It goes on to recommend that adding small bursts of activity, that helps. All right, so you're sitting. You're not just, watching the game show network. You're not just, catching up on all of your reality or your ratchet TV. No, you might be, you're working on a project. You've got some assignments due. You're managing your household bills. Stand up when you need to make that phone call, because we all know that you call customer service and no matter what day you call on, you're going to have an extended wait time. Okay, so while you're making calls, stand up, stretch, walk every hour or so. Just keep moving. All right. How many of you, and I'd love to see it in the comments. I can't see all of them right now, but just begin to comment. When you think about the course of your day, are you sitting more or are you moving more? So when you weigh out the make of your day, what does it look like? Now, for this particular slide in my notes, I have down as a note to self because my job, no matter which capacity I look at it, which role I am currently working in, my job is of a sedentary nature. If I'm out in the community with clients, I'm driving, so I'm sitting. If I'm in the office, if I'm working on contracts, if I'm doing reports, if I'm doing anything clerical, I'm seated. Conference calls, Zoom meetings, I'm seated. So in my notes, I put, if I sit, I'm more at risk. So evaluate the type of work that you do. Evaluate what you do in the course of the day and understand that if I sit, I am at risk. All right? Write that down somewhere. All right, so physical activity. Again, I want to share some info with or pertaining to the children for those that might still be in the phase where there are children at home. So inactive kids are likely to be inactive adults. So given that we've already looked at the statistics of what is the fate, so to speak, of inactive adults and the problems that we can cause ourselves, this is a perfect point. This is a perfect place to intervene and start creating some healthier habits with our children. It also goes on to say that physical activity produces overall physical, psychological, and social benefits in our children. Again, movement matters. And then lastly, it talks about just this activity, physical activity, period, as a whole, it is going to be such an impactful thing for the child's well-being if they happen to have a weight problem. So children, regardless of their status or their numbers, physical activity, period, is a plus. It is a benefit. It is important. All right? So as we're getting it in for ourselves, think of your children, think of your grands, think of your nieces, of your nephews. All right? This pertains to them as well. All right, so some examples. Let's just look through these quickly. What I am more interested in is what are your examples? All right, but in looking at this particular graphic, walking briskly, that's an example of moderate physical activity. Yoga, if you are into it, that's an example of moderate physical activity. Water aerobics, if you're cycling, if you've got a stationary bike or a traditional bike, the weather has changed or is changing. If you can tolerate the pollen, then go out there and have at it. We have some beautiful greenways and trails and walkways. So why not? Enjoy a bike ride. Is that something that you can do with your family? Is that something that you can do with your children or your grands? All right, it also has ballroom dancing on the list. I'm not hating on ballroom dancing. There are so many types that you can find your fit, but how about we put dancing, period? I don't care your style, but dancing is a great opportunity and a great way to get that physical activity in. So be it line dancing, be it ballroom dancing, there's a way to get it in. All right, so that was our moderate. I want us to get into some examples of that vigorous activity, because remember, you can couple them. You don't have to just be 100% on 10 all the time, but you can couple the two and find the speed that works best for you. So I want us to look at examples of vigorous activity, but I want to share what I mean by vigorous. When we say that, vigorous means simply exerting effort or energy. All right, so if it's vigorous, it's involving energy, it's involving effort. So we talked about walking. That's something that we can do lightly. If it's a brisk pace, then we kind of move it up to moderate. But vigorous is we're intentional with it. We got places to go, people to see. Think of that as your vigorous. All right, so let's take a look at some examples. And I would love to see yours as well. And I am going to try to scoop myself just up just a tad, because I want to call your attention to that particular picture. All right. In the comments, tell me, just look at the two ladies on the screen and what do you see? What is their engagement or their interaction with one another and the activity that they seem to be a part of? Lady in the red looks like she's mid-laugh. Lady in the black looks like she's smiling back at her. When I see this picture, it looks like they're having fun. All right, I want you to let that be a takeaway. We can go through all of the examples, all of the recommendations of activity that they have for us, but what is fun for you? That's what I want you to look for. If it's fun for you, guess what? You're more likely to do it. Why? Because it's fun. All right, so some of the examples that they have here for us on the screen: race walking, jogging, or running. Well, for some people that's fun, and for some people it is not. If that's not your fun, then don't do it. I have an interest in runs, but I don't have an interest in running. So when our health and wellness ministry was first in its initial phases, I wanted us to have some fun fitness, because if it's fun, we're apt to do it. So I wasn't ready to run anyone's marathon. I wasn't ready to race. Don't put the clock out on me. But you know what? I was willing to have fun. And one of our first, or our very first actually, if my timeline is correct, and yes it is, we did an inflatable run. So it was an inflatable 3K, if I'm not, nope, 5K. It was an inflatable 3K run. Was I running? Absolutely not. But guess what we got to do? We had obstacles, and you could either walk to the obstacles, you could jog, or you could run to them. But the fun part was, we're out here fully grown, and we're able to, get the fun and the feel of playing in the bounce houses that, we've all aged out of, because, the height and weight requirement, we're over that. Okay, so it was time to let the bouncy house go. But there was some adult fun. I was able to jump and bounce and climb and slide. I was getting a vigorous workout in, but it didn't feel like it. Why? Because I was having fun. Well, what are some examples? Swimming. The weather is changing. If you have a membership to a place that has a pool, if you live in a community to where you have a community pool, this is an opportunity for you to get some vigorous physical activity in. Aerobic dancing, bicycling, as we've talked about, jumping rope, gardening. It says heavy gardening. So if you've got some DIY projects around the house, if you are needing to get the yard in order, that is a vigorous activity. And you know what? Your fitness trackers, whether it's the device that you wear on your person or if you've got one on your smartphone, you know what? Those things are in there. And it's spread all across for whatever time of year you're in. Leaf raking leaves. Oh, you can burn some serious calories with that. Vigorous activity. So if you need to cut some trees, if you need to trim some bushes, haul some things away, vigorous activity. It might not be fun, but it was already on your to-do list. So you're killing two birds with one stone. Again, it talks about hiking and things of that nature, examples of vigorous activity. So I'm curious, in those comments, let me know, have you been doing something, or what can you be doing that falls into that vigorous category? All right. So physical activity, we're going to start bringing this point to a close so that we can get to point number 2. So physical activity, why is it important? Well, if we hadn't already discussed enough of the benefits, why it's important, what we can prevent, what we can gain, what it means to our children, I just want to share a few of these because you can look at this at your leisure as you replay it. We already know, all right, if we move, then, it can control our weight. Oh, our blood pressure. We've talked about those in previous lessons. But you know what? 2 things that stood out to me were the improving our overall well-being, increasing or building more self-confidence and higher self-esteem. All right. That's a benefit. Physical activity will help combat that. And then also strengthening the immune system. We don't think of that. It's, oh, let me pop this. Let me take that. Oh, I'm just feeling a little blah. I'm feeling I've got this going on. If you move more, that stimulates your body. It will kickstart and strengthen that immune system, which will result in an overall better feelings in our bodies. So again, these recommendations, what can we do? All right, so look for opportunities throughout your day. I don't care if your day is in the office, if your day is in the home, if your day is at school, if it's out and about. Find opportunities throughout your day. Well, I have to challenge myself even more so now. It was easier when I had select clients and I was out of the office. I didn't want to stay in the vehicle. So, I get out, I'd walk. And I got creative in where I walked. Oh, is it a rainy day? Well, you know what? The shopping center is over here. I will do laps in the Food Lion in a minute. Yes, I will. The temperature is regulated. I'm dry, so I'm good. Well, all right, if I am in the office and I might not have the luxury as some of you that might be working in office with tons of people, it's a 2-man operation on a good day. A lot of days it's a 1-man operation. So with that being the case, if you're with a group of people, maybe encourage that, you know what? All right, what time is your break? Your break, your break. Well, how about we'll walk together. We'll chat together. If it's just you solo, you can walk together, talk to the Lord, put your playlist in, all right? Listen to a podcast, listen to an Audible. If you're out and about, then maybe change your behavior. Don't be that same creature of habit. If you know that Wednesday is grocery store day, why don't you start parking a little bit further from the store and let those steps add up and work for you? If you're having to go in on the job, well, maybe you're on the third floor. You're not up to walking a full 3 flights of stairs. So I'll come in, I'll take the elevator to the second floor, and I'll walk up from the second to the third. Those little things, those little adjustments matter. So get creative. If you're a stay-at-home parent or caregiver, or you work from home, build it into your day that, you know what? I've been sitting for an hour. Let me stand and stretch my legs, or let me walk around the living room, or you know what? I'm going to stand up, get a stretch break in, and then I'm going to go back and tackle this assignment. So look for ways in your day. All right. Physical activity also helps keep our mind sharp. It'll help us chase away the fogginess that sometimes just kind of latches onto us. Physical activity will do that. All right. So there are some studies out there that they say that the higher your fitness level, it's linked to better attention, better learning, better memory, and better problem solving. So that's a freebie. So consider that. Is your attention a little bit off? How is your memory, your clarity? Well, maybe try getting a little more physical activity in there and see what happens. All right, let's go on to point number 2, barriers. Now, this is something that I love about my opportunity being in the Chair One world, because part of the mission is to break down barriers. We want fitness to be inclusive to everyone across the board. But a part of our mission is to break down barriers, be it real or perceived. I had to take the slide down to say that. We all have barriers. Some barriers are real and some are perceived. What's some examples? And then we'll get into this. In this particular presentation of the subject matter, a real barrier could be someone who is immobile, someone who is not ambulatory. They're not able to move. They don't freely have the use and the activities of their limbs. So if you are well abled, you are physically in your body able to move, whether you might have to use the assistance of a person or a device, then perhaps saying things such as, oh, well, I can't stretch, I can't stand, I can't walk. Maybe that is a perceived barrier and not a real barrier. I'm not negating the barrier. I am not saying that one exists, but we need to examine the nature and the depth of these so-called barriers so that we can overcome them. All right, so some possible, that's the way we're going to look at this, some possible barriers to physical activity. I don't have enough time. Well, you know what? People make time for what it is that they want to do. So the recommendation to combat that, select activities that fit into your routine. All right, so you found a show and you binge watching it because it's just, oh my goodness, it's just the best thing since sliced bread. All right, so maybe, while that show is on and I'm looking up that's where my TV is, I might have something that has just captivated me. Well, how about I make a declaration that, in between episode 1 and 2, when that little break comes, I'm going to stand up, and you know what? Maybe I'm just going to do some overhead reaches, or you know what? I'm just going to stand up. I'm going to do some knee lifts. I'm going to do something. I'm not breaking from watching my show because I'm kind of hooked. I want to see what happens, but I can build some time in to my already established routine to get it in. So we've already talked about little things: parking farther away from the building or the establishment that you're going in, taking the stairs instead of the elevator if you can, taking stretch breaks, just walking around your house if you're able to. All right. Another possible barrier is I don't have anyone to exercise with. Well, you can join a gym. If you are a part of the tab or any of the groups that I'm in, you have access to like-minded people that are interested in changing their lifestyle. So to say that you don't have anyone to exercise with, have you asked? Have you sought out anyone? And if you have, and by chance didn't get a response, then you know what? Sometimes you have to go the road alone until you get someone to come along the journey with you. Another possible barrier: I don't have enough energy. Okay, well, that's the real gospel truth. That happens sometimes. So take the time to take an inventory of your life and your energy levels. If you have more energy at the beginning of the day, that's for you, that's when you need to get it in. If you are on the decline, if lunchtime comes and then you in a downward spiral after that, then you know what? Working out after work or after school or after whatever might not be the best fit for you. If you're more energized in the evenings, then all right, don't beat yourself up that you can't do that 5 a.m. workout. You ain't cut from that cloth. Get it in the PM. If you're a night owl, get it in the PM. I don't have exercise equipment. Okay, so do stuff that doesn't require exercise equipment. I teach a format. No equipment necessary. I teach a format. Recommended but not required. So again, remove the barriers. I was able to work out with an individual, and you know what? We found the substitutions that you can make in your house if you don't have weights, if you don't have dumbbells. It's as simple as making up in your mind that you're going to do it. There's always a way to get it done. All right? So the possible barrier of, oh, I have to take care of my family. True, indeed you do. Take care of them while you're exercising with them. Say, all right, we're going to play a game. We're going to play a game while, dinner is in the oven. We got a good 30 minutes while it cooks. What can we do? Play a game, make up a game, go outside, stay in the living room, get in the floor. There is something that you're able to do. All right. Questions? Do we have any feedback? We're about to get to point 3, and then we will be moving right along with it. Let me take that off. All right, so we've talked about understanding the physical activity recommendations. We've examined the changes that we can make. We've looked at what some possible barriers are and what we can do to combat them. So point number 3, when we were looking at the overview, we were talking about a physical activity plan. So for those in the tab, we're going to use Bishop's words for this. Point number 3 is to plan your work and work your plan. How do we go about that? Well, if we're really serious about getting more active, there are some recommended steps that I would like to share with you. All right, so if you've made the decision that you want to be more physically active, here's what's next. You ever notice that before you do an exercise program, if you're doing it in person, you probably sign a waiver. If you're doing something on YouTube, it's in the fine print. It is recommending that you don't do this exercise or this whatever activity unless you've consulted with a physician. That's always smart, especially if you've got any chronic or underlying issues. Seek the advice of your medical professional first. It recommends getting a baseline. So get your health screening so that, if anything is going on, get some questions answered, get the best practices of how to go about navigating around that particular health condition. All right. Number 2, in planning your work and working your plan, identify and address your obstacles. It's not a bad thing that we have them, but identify and address them. Does that not sound similar to some of our Tuesday nights if you're with the tab or you've been watching our Bible studies online? Well, you know what? There are some things that you've got to face. After we face it, we've got to examine it. So identify and address obstacles that you have. If you have trouble with your knees, your joints, okay, then all right, activities that are physically taxing on your joints, that's not going to be a good fit for you. So what are you able to do when I've identified and addressed my obstacles and I assess myself? Then I can make the decision that, okay, well, I don't need to be, hip hop step is not going to be a fit the way my knees are set up. Maybe I need to do something that's chair based. Maybe I need to do something that's water based. Okay? After you've done those first 3 things, set your goals. Now, we've already talked about how if we do Monday through Friday, 30 minutes a day, then we'll be on that level. Well, for the tab groups, for those that are joining and watching us, this first week of activity, this first week of May, I am going to ask you to dedicate Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And again, you know your schedules, you know your life. But basically, I'm asking for 3 days. Set a goal this week, 3 days of physical activity. Plan your work and work your plan. Lastly, it says consider keeping an activity log. Well, if you've got an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, a Samsung Watch, any type of fitness tracker, then they're keeping an activity log. If you walk with your phone in your pocket, then okay, you've got an activity log. So consider being mindful of that. I have goals programmed into mine of how many days of physical activity I would like to get in, and it reminds me. All right, so the tools are there. You're able to get it in. It's just a determining or a making up of your mind of will you do it. All right, so let's look at some, I've titled it Pro Tips for us moving more and sitting less. So let me advance that slide for us. So, and we're popping forward. I apologize, guys. So, move more with more intensity and sit less. Just pulling a few of these that I think is interesting. All right. Because if you do it and do it with more intensity and you understand the benefit that you're getting from it, you're more apt to do it. Because people are like, oh, if I just get up and walk around my home, that's not really doing anything. It's all in how you work it. You very much are doing something. So it goes on to share with us that 10 minutes of stretching is like walking the length of a football field. Stretching. Most of us are going to say, oh, walking the football field. No, I can't do that. I'm barely walking as it is. I can't do that. Well, 10 minutes of stretching, that might be more palatable than me saying, all right, go down to the high school and just, walk the field. Yeah, get all the yard lines in. Y'all ain't feeling that, but 10 minutes of stretching, you might be able to get that in. And it has a benefit. Well, those that are like, I can't exercise, I got to take care of my children, got to take care of the house, okay? Well, 20 minutes of vacuuming is like walking 1 mile. If that's not incentive for you to vacuum all the carpets, get all the rugs, all right, move more with more intensity and sit less. It goes on to say that an hour of dancing every week for a year is like walking from Chicago to Indianapolis. Who gonna do that? I don't have any volunteers. Nobody's hand is up, and I can't even see y'all. Nobody's hand is up. But an hour of dancing every week. And again, don't look at it as an hour every time, okay? But if you were to just dance, get your little jig in, do your little something, 10 minutes every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There's your hour right there. Just 10 minutes of your favorite dance move, your whatever. Relive whatever is your genre of music, whatever dance went with it. 10 minutes. An hour of dance every week is like walking from Chicago to Indianapolis. Move more with more intensity and sit less and reap the benefit. Reap the benefit of it. So I challenge you, your normal stuff that you have to do it with more intensity. You have to grocery shop. If you have to force yourself to shop because that ain't what you really want to do, I challenge you, get the buggy and take a couple aisles that you know there is nothing on it that you need to get. First of all, do not go to the grocery store while you're hungry. Please, let's not do that, but that's another lesson. But just walk with intention through that store, whatever store you're in. Go up and down a couple aisles that you don't need to get anything from. It was a practice of mine when I would walk the stores. Maybe I was like, let me grab some water and, a healthy snack. Well, before I get what I came in there for, I'm going to circle the store one time to get some steps in, and then I'll go get the things that I intend to purchase. Move more with more intensity and sit less. Well, that is the bulk of what I needed to present to us on today. When we look at this, I need us to just get out there. I just need us to start. So it tells us, get out there. Then slowly increase the duration. Don't go out there like Superman. Don't go out there like Wonder Woman. Start somewhere. Set some goals. Encourage, get yourself motivated, and then add to it. Remember, OST is still in effect. If you have not been a part of our groups, OST means one small thing, because one small thing changes everything. So just get out there. Just get out there. That's all we have to do to start. Well, if you're back in the normal or somewhat normal work environment, then take that as your challenge. Take that as your activity. How can you get active? How can you get started at work? Well, take your 10-minute breaks. Most of the time you're sitting as break time, you're scrolling because you can have your phone out. You might do this, that, or the third. That's your potty break. Okay, well, please, take your bio break, but maybe, take an extra lap. Maybe go to the restroom that's further away from where your part of the office is. All right, it says schedule time for physical activity on your calendar. Most of the, or I won't say most, but I remember when I was back in corporate. Our breaks were, it would populate. It would say, all right, it's such and such time. Your break time is coming up. You need to take a break now. All right, if it's already scheduled for me, if it populates for me, then let me just get a plan. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? If it's nice outside, then let me walk the parking lot for however many laps I can get in, come in, take my bio break, get some water, and get ready to get back on the clock. It says participate in or start a walking club. That's surely a way of getting out there. And it says walk during the workday. That's perhaps one of the easiest things that all of us can do, especially, no, not especially, but regardless of whether we're in the office working or we're in the home working. One of the easiest things that we can do. And then if you're at home, understand these things. Chores count. Get them children doing some chores. Get yourself doing some chores. Cleaning your house, that counts. That's movement. That's physical activity. All right. If you're behind in that spring cleaning, hitting them, getting them baseboards. All right. Wiping them windows down really, really good. Cleaning out the cupboards, cleaning out the pantry. Those things count. Rake leaves, prune your trees, work in the gardens, walk or bike to the store if you've got something that close to the community in which you live. Wash the car, put down wash the pets if you got a cat, dog. Well, you don't wash a cat. I don't think, I'm not a cat owner. Wash the car, wash the dog, and yeah, that counts as some physical activity. All right, as long as we get it in. All right, exercising at home. All right, so we've covered home, we've covered the job, we've talked about chores, and a multitude of other things. So what are we able to do? At this point, we should be able to stop. We should be able to look at ourselves or at our virtual neighbor and say, neighbor, let's get moving. It's as simple as that. All we have to do is start. I'm just asking you to get more active. I'm just asking you to move more. Whatever you did or didn't do on yesterday, just do more than that today, and then build on it the next day, and the day after, and the day after that. Amen? All right, that's all that we have in the way of our lesson material. So since we are at the end, you know what I need is for us to go ahead and get the post survey completed. So you've officially had opportunity to go through the lesson, the information that has been provided. I need you to take 60 seconds, 1 minute to go ahead and either scan that QR code or click the link that has been provided so that we can go ahead and get that data in. We want to make sure that we can give an account that the information is going out and we are aware. We are aware of it. All right. Also, I want to make sure that not only are we doing those surveys, but that, let me go ahead and get there, that we are also joining and signing up to participate in one of the two groups that we have available, because that's where your accountability is going to come from. That's where your encouragement is going to come from, and our challenges are going to be housed. So what is the challenge for this week? We are going to get that physical activity in. If you can get that Monday through Friday in, God bless you, because many of us are on different phases of the journey. We're in different places physically and mentally. I'm only asking for you to at least commit to 3 days. To keep things simple, I would say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you have a day, a break in between. But I need you to communicate back to me. I need to know what you're doing, what type of activities are you doing, and how you're breaking it up throughout the course of your day. All right. So again, thank you so much for spending time in our Empowered to Serve lesson. Again, this is brought to you by our partnership with the American Heart Association and Amgen Cardiology. We are grateful for the opportunity to be that force for change in the communities of faith as well as in the communities of color. So I do appreciate the time and space that you have spent here with me on today. Again, we are getting more active. We understand the recommendations. We understand why we need to move more. We have identified those barriers and we have ways in which we can combat them. All right, so the third thing, now that we've done all of that, plan our work and work our plan. Why? Because it's for our health. All right, so here's to you and your health. I thank you so much for spending time with us as we move on to make sure that we are living our best life, that we are living it to the glory of God, and that we are in health and prospering, even as our souls are intended to prosper. Have an amazing rest of the day, and I will see you in the groups. Bye, everyone.